But it's not just the opening credits that have been influenced by Thrones. The plotting has taken a page or two out of George R.R. Martin's Notebook, mainly in its approach to character. Trek's main crew has traditionally been about as good as they come. They face moral dilemmas, but always choose the side of good. Their best baddies have been unquestionably evil, whether it's the Borg, Klingons, or Kardashians. Sure, many of these groups had individuals who weren't as bad as the rest, but they were generally exceptions to prove the rule. Modern TV doesn't work like that, especially Thrones, which can take a character like Jaime Lannister from chucking a child out of a window to being one of the most loved characters on the show. So, it probably shouldn't come as a surprise to see our new protagonist Michael Burnham, played by Sonequa Martin Green, making potentially dodgy decisions that could move her closer towards villain status than any previous Starfleet captain. We're not counting that time Picard was turned into a Borg. As for the villains, well, it'll be a stretch to call them good, but they're already more layered than any previous incarnation of the characters. Speaking of which, for house-based politics, Game of Thrones' various factions are split into several noble houses: Stark, Lannister, Tully, you know the deal. As it turns out, so are the Klingons in this take on Trek. The Klingons are part of Star Trek lore that go all the way back to season 1 of the original series, but what we're doing is showing a side of the Klingons I don't think we've ever seen before, producer Ted Sullivan said. We're exploring the 4 different houses that are in the Klingon Empire, so we'll be seeing different clothing, different rituals to what we've seen before. 5. A season-long arc. Spin-off episodes are in Star Trek's blood. It's built into the premise of the show. The crew boldly go to strange new worlds, usually a new one each week. Sure, they'd occasionally bust out a twopper in extreme circumstances, but more often than not, it'd be a new adventure each week. Not so for Discovery, which has a season-long arc for the first time since, well, Enterprise. But we don't talk about Enterprise. This commitment to Game of Thrones-style long-form storytelling will be one of the biggest shocks for casual Trek watchers who last saw the show when Professor X was in change. 8-time individual episode arcs were very much the norm. 6. The sense that anyone can die at any time. Netflix put it this way: don't get too attached to anyone on Discovery. If you do, don't say showrunner Gretchen J. Berg didn't warn you. Game of Thrones changed television, Berg said. They almost made it difficult to fall in love with people because you didn't know if they were going to be taken away from you. That show's had an influence on all TV dramas that have come after it. Hint. 7. Use of subtitles. This might seem like a weird one, but Game of Thrones has brought TV subtitles into the mainstream. Once considered an element of the art house market that would never work for escapism-craving tele-audiences, Thrones featured lengthy subtitled sequences, especially in the early seasons. It's one of the aspects that gave the show a more realistic feel, even if it did mostly involve the scenes where a dragon lady talked to her army of war-craving barbarians. Of all the shows on TV, Trek should have a myriad of different languages thanks to all the aliens, which they actually do, not that you get to hear them very often, thanks to the universal translator which handily turns everything into English. We're not saying that Trek's never used subtitling. In fact, you can learn several of Trek's alien languages should you so choose, but Discovery does it differently, throwing you in the deep end, confident that if you can follow your Khaleesi talking to Khal Drogo or his Dothraki hordes, you can keep up with Klingons talking to each other in their own language. Oh, and they'll even let you watch the whole episode in Klingon, which is a nice touch. Want up-to-the minute entertainment news and features? Just hit like on our Digital Spy Facebook page and follow on our @DigitalSpy Twitter account, and yeah, we're all set.